When I lost my job due to layoffs, I was already struggling with depression. I opened up at dinner, hoping for support. My father-in-law said, "Maybe this is a sign that you weren't meant for more." My husband nodded slowly and said, "You have been kind of aimless lately." I sat there numb. Later that night, I wrote a resume from scratch, took an online course, and built a portfolio in silence. A year later, I got a six-figure offer and left without telling them goodbye. I never thought I'd share this with anyone outside my closest friends, but it's been over a year now, and I think I've finally let go of the bitterness. Or most of it. I want to tell this story for anyone who's ever been kicked while they were already down. Let me start from where everything began to unravel. I was 34 years old, living in Portland, Oregon. I had a full-time job as a content manager for a mid-sized software company. Not glamorous, not high-paying, but solid. I worked hard. I kept to myself. I had my routines, my little wins. It kept me going, especially because, quietly, I was battling depression. I hadn't told many people. My husband, Jason, knew a little, but not the whole story. I wasn't sleeping well. My thoughts were dark. I'd been dragging myself out of bed every day just to feel normal. I figured I was holding on okay until the layoffs hit. It was a Tuesday morning. Gray sky, light drizzle. I got the email to join a quick check-in with HR.
You know the type.
I knew. I knew before I clicked the link. My manager looked uncomfortable, said it was about budget cuts, that I was great, really, just not essential. That word stuck with me. I hung up the call, just stared at my screen. I had nothing. No plan, no backup savings, no warning. I texted Jason. Got laid off. He wrote back, "Sorry. That sucks. We'll talk later." That night, Jason said we should go to his parents' house for dinner. "It'll help get your mind off it," he said. I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to sit in silence either. His parents live in Beaverton. Big house. His dad, Carl, used to be military, then went into finance. Always very on top of things. His mom, Debbie, is quieter, kinder, but usually just follows his lead. We sat down to dinner, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, salad.
I belly touched mine.
Carl asked, "So, how's work?" I looked up. "Actually, I got laid off this morning." Debbie looked shocked. "Oh no. I'm so sorry." Carl didn't flinch. He just nodded like he was waiting for it. Then he said in the most casual voice, "Well, maybe this is a sign you weren't meant for more." I looked at him, confused. Like, what? Before I could even respond, Jason, my husband, leaned forward, elbows on the table, and said, "You have been kind of aimless lately."
No emotion.
No defense. Just like he agreed. I sat there, frozen.
Couldn't speak. Couldn't cry.
Just numb. The worst part wasn't what they said. It was how easy it was for them to say it. Like I was just lazy. Like I hadn't spent months silently drowning in work and sadness just to hold things together. No one else said a word. The conversation moved on. We drove home in silence. Jason didn't ask how I was. Didn't check on me. Just turned on the TV and started watching a show like nothing happened. I didn't join him. I went into the spare room, shut the door, and opened my laptop. I didn't have a plan, just a fire in my chest. I rewrote my resume from scratch. It took hours. It was bad, but it was something. The next morning, I signed up for a free course in UX design. I figured I'd start learning something, anything that might give me a new shot. I worked in silence, every day. I stopped talking about it. I knew no one cared. Jason never asked what I was doing. Never offered to help. Just kept going to work, going to his parents' house, living like nothing changed. At night, I studied.
I watched YouTube videos.
Took free classes. Practiced design projects. I volunteered to redesign a local animal shelter's website just to build my portfolio. I did cheap freelance jobs on Fiverr. I didn't care about money. I needed experience. This went on for months. 10 months in, I started getting interviews. A year later, I got an offer from a Seattle startup. Full-time remote UX designer. $106,000 a year. Signing bonus. Full benefits. I didn't tell Jason. I didn't tell anyone. I found an apartment in Seattle. Signed the lease. Packed my things while he was at work. I left a note on the kitchen table. It said, "Don't bother reaching out. You showed me who you were." Then I left. I moved into my new apartment in Seattle the following weekend. It was small.
Quiet.
I didn't know anyone there. But for the first time in years, I could breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't second-guess myself. I just sat on the floor surrounded by unopened boxes, drinking a cheap beer, and let the silence fill the room like peace. The job was real. The team treated me like I belonged. My manager was supportive, communicative. Every meeting, every assignment, I kept waiting to feel like an imposter, but I didn't. I was ready. I had earned this. A few days after I moved, the text started. First it was Jason. "Where are you? Did you leave me? What the hell, Rachel?" Then, "Please talk to me. I'm sorry if I hurt you." I ignored all of them. Then came the emails. His mom. His dad. Even his sister, who I barely knew. Jason wrote, "Look, I know I didn't handle things right,
But you just vanished.
that's not fair." I deleted every message. Then, about 2 weeks later, he showed up. At my job. I was working from the co-working space my company rented in downtown Seattle. I had just come back from lunch when I saw him through the glass doors. He looked like hell. Hair messy, eyes bloodshot. He was holding a coffee in one hand, a plastic bag in the other. I froze.
He spotted me.
Started walking over. I stepped back into a phone booth room and shut the door. He knocked on the glass. I opened it just a crack. "You shouldn't be here."
Please.
"Just 5 minutes." He looked desperate. I gave him 5 seconds.
He said, "You left. You didn't even talk to me."
"You made me look crazy." I said, "You made me feel worthless." "I sat in your parents' house while you nodded like I was a waste of space. I begged for support and got silence." He didn't deny it. Just stood there, eyes wide. "I worked my ass off for a year while you acted like I was just figuring myself out." "Well, I figured it out. And I figured out I don't need you." He said, "Rachel, come on. I miss you." I looked him in the eye. "You don't miss me. You miss the quiet, obedient version of me who didn't leave when she should have." Then I turned and walked back to my desk. He stood outside the window for 10 minutes before walking away. Later that night, I got a message from his dad. "You could have handled this like an adult." I didn't reply. The next morning, someone slipped a letter under the door of my apartment. No stamp. No envelope. It was from Jason's mom. Handwritten. 3 pages long. She begged me to reconsider. Said Jason was lost without me. That families go through hard times and I should have given them a chance to make it right. But I remembered that dinner table. I remembered how quiet she was while I sat there, gutted. No one defended me then. So I mailed the letter back to their address. No note. Just the same envelope, returned. I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. About 3 weeks later, I was settling into my new rhythm. Waking up early. Morning walks to the coffee shop down the street. Zoom meetings where my ideas actually mattered. My team praised my work, and my manager asked if I wanted to take the lead on a product redesign. It was the first time in my adult life that I felt like I was in control. Then one morning, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject line. "Thought you should know." The body just said, "Your ex is spreading stories. Figured you'd want a heads up." Attached were screenshots from a local Portland Facebook group. Jason had posted under his real name, claiming that I had abandoned our marriage, ran off to chase some pipe dream, and left him with debt and a wrecked home. He painted himself as the wounded husband, said I was unstable, possibly having a breakdown. He even implied I'd cheated. None of it was true. I sat there staring at the screen, heart pounding. The comments under his post were full of sympathy. Friends of his mom chiming in. People we used to know back in Portland, adding their own opinions. Most believed him. A few even said things like, "She always seemed off." I didn't know what hurt more, the lies, or how easily people believe them. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I logged into an old shared Google Drive we hadn't used in over a year. We'd used it to store house bills, photos, tax docs, stuff we both accessed. He hadn't changed the password. Inside, I found something unexpected. A folder labeled Tax Docs 2023. I clicked on it. Inside were PDFs of receipts, invoices, and one document from a personal loan company. It had Jason's name on it. The date was from 7 months ago, 5 months after I'd been laid off, while I was still living there, studying in secret. The loan was for $15,000. The reason listed? Debt consolidation. But there was a problem. Some of those receipts he uploaded, they weren't for debt. They were for gifts. Electronics. A hotel stay in Bend, Oregon. One hotel receipt listed 2 guests. I felt cold. I cross-checked the date with a weekend. I remembered him being at a work retreat. I called the hotel, pretending I'd lost a receipt for a couple's spa package. Gave his name. The woman on the phone confirmed it. Jason had stayed there with someone else. I didn't say a word, just thanked her and hung up. So that was it. While I was unemployed, depressed, grinding late nights to pull myself out of the hole, he was taking another woman to a resort under our name and lying about it. Now, he was playing the victim. The rage came back, sharp and clean. But I didn't explode. I didn't confront him. Not yet.
I didn't sleep that night.
I just sat there, staring at my laptop, the hotel invoice pulled up beside Jason's Facebook post. His lies, his self-pity, all while he was sneaking off behind my back and telling the world I was the one who ran. I thought about calling him. Thought about emailing the screenshots to his family, exposing everything. But then I realized I could do something better. Something permanent. The next morning, I called the personal loan company listed on his statement.
I didn't pretend.
I told them I was Jason's legal spouse, because legally, we were still married. And I had concerns about a loan taken out during our marriage. They confirmed the account. I asked if the loan had been taken out in both our names. They said no, it was solely in his name, but he'd used our old shared address. And he'd listed me as an emergency contact.
Perfect.
Next, I contacted a lawyer in Seattle. She was sharp, fast, and didn't flinch when I told her what I wanted. A clean, full divorce with documentation of financial misconduct during the marriage. We filed. In my state, you can request a court order to review marital spending if one party misused joint resources, especially during hardship. The receipts, the hotel stays, the lies, they all painted the picture we needed. We subpoenaed his bank records. More charges came out. Jewelry, flowers, dinners, 2 flights. Not just cheating, a full-blown relationship he'd hidden while I lived like a ghost in our own home. It took a few weeks, but the moment he got served, I got a text. 1 line. "You're really doing this?" I didn't reply. Instead, I posted my own message. In the same Facebook group he'd used. I kept it simple. I've seen Jason's post. Here are the facts. I was laid off. I built myself back from nothing while he disappeared on weekends. Here's what I found. Then I attached one image, the hotel invoice with his name and 2 guests circled in red. I didn't say anything else. I didn't have to. The post exploded. Friends messaged me. Former coworkers. Even some of his friends. One woman replied, "I always thought something was off about him. I'm so sorry." His mom emailed me, saying I was being vindictive. I wrote back, "You stayed silent while I drowned at your dinner table. You don't get to speak now." Jason tried calling for weeks. I never picked up. The court sided with me. I didn't get half. He'd buried most of his money, but I got what mattered. Legal proof of his cheating, protection from his debts, and a final, permanent break. I walked away clean. No drama.
No yelling.
Just facts. Paperwork. Screenshots. I mailed him one final thing, an envelope with my new business card inside. I had just launched my freelance design brand. Logo, website, and all. Underneath it, I wrote, "Thanks for the motivation." I haven't heard from him since. I still have days where I feel that old sadness trying to sneak back in. But I've learned something. The people who leave you in the dark when you need them most, let them stay there. You don't need to drag them into your light. I saved myself. And I'm not going back.